Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Definitely. Always up for a fascinating case.
Well, today we're going to try to unpack the enigma that is Richard Kuklinski, better known as the Iceman.
Kuklinski. A truly complex figure.
Exactly. We're going to look into his life, his crimes, all those chilling claims he made about his kill count, his mob ties, the whole 9 yards. What makes this case so captivating?
To me, it's the contrast. You have this seemingly normal family man, a husband, a father, and then you have this ruthless, cold-blooded killer.
It's like a real-life Jekyll and Hyde situation.
Precisely. And then there's the whole Iceman thing, the way he froze his victims' bodies to throw off investigators.
Brutal. But before we get into all that, let's rewind a bit, shall we? Go back to Kuklinski's childhood. Grew up in Jersey City. Tough upbringing, to say the least.
Right. Lots of violence, abuse.
His father, a brutal alcoholic, beat his kids mercilessly. Kuklinski's older brother, Florian, died from those beatings.
Tragic. And that kind of severe trauma can have a lasting impact. Increases the risk of developing antisocial personality disorder later in life.
Makes you wonder about the cyclical nature of violence, right? Because then you have Kuklinski's younger brother, Joseph, who was convicted of, get this, rape and murder.
A disturbing pattern, for sure. And it wasn't just the father, Kuklinski's mother, she was also abusive.
He devoutly religious, but she'd beat young Richard with whatever she could find. Broom handles, pots, pans, you name it.
So Kuklinski was basically trapped in this cycle of abuse, victim and perpetrator. Creates this deep-seated sense of fear, insecurity, leads to a warped view of the world where violence becomes a solution.
And yet, amidst all this, Kuklinski had another side. According to his family, he was a loving husband and father. His wife, Barbara, she described him as having these two distinct sides, good Richie and bad Richie.
Classic compartmentalization. Often seen in individuals with antisocial personality disorder, they can present a charming, even loving facade to the world while hiding their true nature.
Barbara saw it firsthand. Kuklinski doted on his sick daughter, Americ, spent hours caring for her. But then he'd turn around and break Barbara's nose, threatened to kill her whole family if she ever left him, even stabbed her with a hunting knife to make his point.
That mix of tenderness and brutality is deeply disturbing. It speaks to a profound lack of empathy, an ability to detach from the pain he was inflicting.
It's mind-boggling. It's like he was living two completely separate lives. And while all of this was happening at home, Kuklinski was busy building a criminal empire. Started with bootlegging pornography, then escalated to running a sophisticated burglary ring. Even got involved in drug dealing.
It's interesting how his criminal activities seem to mirror his personality, starting small, then growing in scope, becoming increasingly violent.
And many of his victims were actually people he met through those illegal businesses. Anyone he saw as a threat, someone who might snitch, they were eliminated.
That's a chilling thought. He saw violence as just another tool, a way to solve problems, eliminate competition.
His first confirmed murder was George Maliband back in 1980. Lured him to a meeting under the guise of a business deal, shot him 5 times, stuffed his body in a 55-gallon drum.
Cold, calculated, and that meticulous planning, the disposal of the body, that speaks volumes about his mindset. He wasn't killing out of passion. It was premeditated.
Out of business.
Exactly. And sadly, that was just the beginning. Kuklinski was a dangerous guy, no question. His willingness to go to such extremes, it's frightening.
2 years after the Maliband murder, he killed again. Paul Hoffman, a pharmacist.
Involved in some shady dealings with Kuklinski, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, drug deal gone wrong. They got into an argument, and Kuklinski just snapped. Beat Hoffman to death with a tire iron.
Shows you the other side of him. He could be cold and calculating, but also prone to these bursts of rage.
And the way he disposed of the body this time, just as chillin', left Hoffman in a motel room, hidden between the mattress and box spring.
Not exactly his most meticulous work. Maybe he was getting cocky, thought he was untouchable.
Well, his reputation in the criminal world was growing. He started attracting attention from some serious organized crime figures.
And that's when, according to Kuklinski at least, he started working as a hitman for the mob.
Right. But this is where things get a bit murky. Kuklinski claimed to have killed over 100 people. But a lot of experts, they're skeptical.
Yeah, there's a lot of debate about his actual kill count. Some of his stories, they just don't add up.
He claimed to be involved in some high-profile mob hits, like Roy DeMeo, the Gambino family hitman. But there's no evidence to support that.
It's possible he was embellishing, trying to build up this fearsome reputation. He seemed to enjoy the notoriety.
And then there's the story about how he learned to freeze his victims. He said he got the idea from this guy, Robert Prongay, kind of a mentor to him in the early days.
Pronge was a shady character, deeply connected to organized crime, supposedly taught Kuklinski a lot about murder, body disposal, all that.
But their relationship went south. Pronge ended up dead, shot multiple times in his ice cream truck.
Yeah. Of all places. And guess who was suspected of pulling the trigger?
Kuklinski himself. He never admitted to it, but he heavily implied it. He said Pronge had become a liability, threatened his family.
Cold. Even someone he considered a mentor, he was willing to eliminate them. Shows you how ruthless he could be.
So you have all these confirmed murders, then the unconfirmed claims. It paints a very dark picture. But the thing that really gets me is that he still maintained this facade of being a family man. How can someone capable of such brutality also be capable of love and affection?
That's the million-dollar question. It's hard to reconcile those two sides. Some experts think he might have had a severe personality disorder, maybe antisocial personality disorder. That could explain the lack of empathy, the manipulative behavior, the ability to compartmentalize.
It's like he had two completely separate brains, one for love, one for murder.
It's a fascinating and terrifying thought, isn't it? Really highlights the complexities of the human psyche. We still have so much to learn about what drives people to violence, to criminality. Kuklinski's case is a stark reminder that evil can hide anywhere, even in seemingly ordinary people.
And as we'll see in the final part of our deep dive, Kuklinski's reign of terror, it didn't last forever. He made a mistake, a crucial mistake that led to his downfall. Kuklinski thought he was invincible, untouchable. But even the best, they slip up eventually.
Pride before the fall, as they say.
Exactly. And for Kuklinski, it started with a New Jersey State Police officer, Pat Kane. Kane had been looking into all these unsolved murders, burglaries, started to think maybe Kuklinski was involved.
Kane was a smart guy. He knew Kuklinski was dangerous, cunning, so he had to be careful.
He teamed up with the ATF. They were also looking into Kuklinski for gun trafficking.
Makes sense. Pool their resources, expertise. Stronger case.
They called it Operation Iceman.
Fitting, right, given Kuklinski's methods.
The key to the whole thing, this undercover ATF agent, Dominic Polifrone, he spent 18 months getting close to Kuklinski.
Wow, talk about dedication. Must have taken nerves of steel.
Polifrone was posing as a criminal. Dominic Provenzano had to gain Kuklinski's trust without tipping him off. High-stakes stuff.
And he pulled it off. Managed to get Kuklinski talking, bragging about past murders, even planning future hits.
And Polifrone, he got it all on tape. That was their smoking gun. December 1986, they decided to move. Set up a sting operation. Polifrone offered Kuklinski a contract, kill a drug dealer.
Risky, but it had to be done. They needed to catch him in the act.
Kuklinski, though, he was always suspicious. He tested the cyanide Polifrone gave him, realized it was fake, backed out of the hit.
So close.
But it didn't matter. They had him surrounded. As Kuklinski drove away, they stopped him at a roadblock, arrested. Operation Iceman was a success.
Finally brought him down. The trial was huge. The media went crazy. The seemingly ordinary family man revealed to be a cold-blooded killer.
The evidence was overwhelming. The tapes, witness testimony, forensics.
Couldn't deny it anymore.
He was convicted on multiple counts of murder, sentenced to life, died in prison in 2006.
End of an era.
So what can we take away from all this? The Iceman, Richard Kuklinski. I think, for me, it's a reminder that evil can wear many masks. It can hide in plain sight.
Absolutely. We have to be aware, look for the signs, never underestimate the darkness that can exist within people.
It also shows the importance of good police work, the dedication, the persistence, the risks these officers take to keep us safe. And I think that's worth remembering.
Couldn't agree more. We owe a lot to people like Pat Kane and Dominic Polifrone.
If you're interested in learning more about Richard Kuklinski, there are tons of books, documentaries out there, even a movie.
It's a case that keeps you thinking, that's for sure. The psychology, the motivations, the sheer brutality.
Well, folks, that's our deep dive into the chilling world of the Iceman. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.